Hey guys, Yankee here, and today I'm going to be doing my comic book haul for January, February, and March of 2025. I got a decent number of comics, definitely not as much manga as I had in my last video, but a decent amount. So let's get into it. Let's start with Marvel stuff. First up, let's get this one out of the way. We have Heroes at Home. What is this? During COVID, Marvel, being who they are, decided, hey, we can take advantage of this and have COVID themed variant covers where all the characters are at home. That's a good idea, right? Um, and so it was just basically a 9 panel comic on the cover of some comic books, and this paperback here just collects them, and it's just 1 panel per page. There's like, I don't know, 5 or 6 comics in here. So just kind of padded out. Not a great read. It's basically a picture book, right? There's barely any dialogue. I think maybe one has dialogue, but it's just a tiny little comic, 1 panel a page, ridiculously priced. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. There it is, $9.99. They charge $10 for this, which is absurd. A 200-page full-size comic is like $16. So this being $10 is ridiculous. So there's that. Next up, we have Demon Wars by Peach Momoko. I read Demon Days a while ago, right? I always liked Peach Momoko's variant covers. And then I read Demon Days because I like those covers, wanted to see it in a comic, enjoyed that, and then I went and got this, which is a sequel to that. And then my other Marvel comic, I'll just talk about that now here too, is Ultimate X-Men by Peach Momoko. I remember getting Demon Days and being like, this is really cool. I'd love to see what she'd do with like an ongoing comic. And so I got that, right? I've read Ultimate X-Men. I actually bought that before I bought Demon Wars. So I've read Ultimate X-Men. I enjoyed that first volume a lot. Demon Wars I haven't checked out yet, but I like Peach Momoko's art. And yeah, just I like manga, so having like a Japanese creator tell like superhero stories like set in sort of like old Japan and like current Japan, like it's fun. I'm having fun with this, and I like her art a lot. So there is that. Next up, we've got a couple of DC books. All of these are old. Like I don't have anything like Ultimate X-Men Demon Days from Marvel. Like that's current stuff. Like I think Demon Wars is a couple years old at this point, but like Ultimate X-Men just came out a few months ago, I think. These DC books are all old. Like these first ones I want to talk about, especially. We have Dial H by China Mayville. This is a comic that, back during New 52, was one of the ones that I read a little bit of. New 52 was like the peak of me reading comics. Like I had a subscription to Action Comics, so every month I got an issue. I was going to bookstores when I could to check out their comic rack, getting anything that seemed interesting to me. And that lasted for like 2 years, I think, before I sort of realized I hate following things month to month. So I read a few issues of Dial H back in the day, enjoyed it, never finished it, got these on eBay for a decent price, had a lot of fun with them. The idea of the H dial is really cool, where you type in the code HERO, you become a random hero, and you just got to deal with it. And I think this does like an interesting job of that, where what's his name? Nelson Gent, I think is our main character's name, where he gets some weird ones in this. But yeah, fun little comic. I like the premise. It was like the worst part of it is it clearly got axed, so it's got kind of a rushed ending that wasn't particularly satisfying. But I did enjoy the bulk of this comic, and it makes me want to check out. There was a more recent Dial H run by I think Sam Humphries that I want to check out too. So there's that. Ugh. And then the last DC comic I got is Stargirl. And inside this book is not a single comic called Stargirl. This collects Stars and Stripes issues 0 to 14, I think, which is where the character of Courtney Whitmore was created, where like the robot Stripe was created, like all that stuff. Everything from the CW show came from this comic, and that's why it's sort of like this came out alongside the show. That's why it's branded like this. That's why it has like a crappy stock image from the show on the cover, which I hate. But yeah, I picked this up. I'd wanted to get this for a while, missed it when it came out, and just kind of got expensive, and I finally found somebody selling it for a reasonable price. This was a lot of fun. It is basically like the first season of the show basically straight up adapted this. There's obviously some changes, like new characters and stuff. There's not a whole lot of JSA in this book. But like reading through it after, like I watched that show, back as it was airing, watching or reading this now, like seeing how much is like right off the page was really interesting. And I did enjoy it a lot. Like I like Stargirl the show. I liked this book a lot. I kind of wish she got a bit more comics in the 20 something years that Johns was working at DC, but I guess if I want more Stargirl stuff, I'm just gonna have to start getting into JSA, which I don't know, maybe I will. Anyway, that's it for DC. Now I've got, alright, let's do these. First up, I got a Power Rangers comic. This is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers The Return, written by, in part, was it Amy Jo Johnson, the original Pink Power Ranger? I got it for that. It just seemed interesting, and I wanted to check it out. I haven't really touched the Boom Studios Power Ranger comics. Like, they don't really have much, like, they don't appeal to me much. But this being sort of, like, a weird continuation of the show by one of the people from the show interested me, and it was cheap on eBay. So yeah, I picked that up. I haven't read it yet. And I'll get to it soon, I guess. Next is a comic strip. This is Crabgrass. I saw a couple of comic strips from this online a few years ago, and I like them. It's just a couple of kids hanging around being kids. It's just a fun comic strip. And I saw that there was a book on Amazon, again, a couple of years ago, put it in like my buy later list or whatever, and then I was on Amazon, and it was just on sale for like $2, and I just couldn't pass that up. It was too good a deal. So I picked this up. It was $2. I read it. Again, it's just a fun comic strip. If you like comic strips about just kids being kids, this is a good one. All right. Ugh. Now, to end this off, I gotta be careful with these because they're kind of falling apart. I talked about this in my manga haul when I talked about the manga Bible stuff, but I went on eBay one day and looked up a comic called Serenity. This is like a Christian manga-inspired comic, right? We got sort of smaller proportions of the book. How close are they? Just a smidge taller than an actual manga volume. It's just like early 2000s, trying to get into like sort of the manga craze. A bunch of people were putting out fake manga at the time. I've read this series a few times. I have a fondness for it, and I've just sort of been looking on eBay occasionally throughout the years to try and find a full set of it. And last year I almost bought a couple of like random volumes of this, and I'm like, all right, I'll just start buying random volumes, sort of building it out. But then I saw somebody on eBay selling the full set. So that's volume 1. I just bumped my thing. All right, that's volume 1. This is volume 2. They're from two different, like, it's a mixed match of like two different publishers that release these. So the format of the covers and stuff is going to change. But that's volume 2. That's volume 3. Volume 4. Volume 5, and as you can see, we bump back to a different style of cover here. Volume 6. Volume 7. These are the ones that I have to actually be really careful with, because the glue in the spines of these is just falling apart, and like the pages are ready to fall out on a couple of these. So that's volume 7. Volume 8. Volume 9. And then finally here we have volume 10. And this is the one that, the day that I got this in the mail, I took it out and like a chunk of glue from the spine just fell out. Let's see, like, yeah, look at this. It's awful. There used to be glue there and it just fell out as soon as I got this. So there's that. An interesting little comic series from an incredibly generous eBay seller who gave me 6 volumes of manga for free after I bought this. But yeah, that is it for my comics haul. A lot of stuff, a lot of fun stuff, and I've actually read a lot of it. I've been doing a good job recently of actually reading the things that I buy instead of just putting them on a shelf and sort of putting it off. It's like I've read like a ton of manga and comics and stuff this year already. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.